For more on this, I'm joined by Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman Kinzinger, thanks for coming on the show. So what do you think about Senator Romney, what we just heard, that this is just entertainment that's going nowhere? Because you contrast that with what we saw last night. A pretty big crowd showed up. Clearly, this movement did not lose steam from Trump's defeat or from his mishandling of the pandemic or the insurrection. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I hope he's right. There's a lot of people, though, that I've talked to, that are mad at me for just telling the truth, which used to be a pretty basic, low bar, that really truly believe that Donald Trump was elected president again. And what you saw yesterday was a recycling of all his old talking points. It was a rally of a loser president. I mean, he's the first president to lose re-election in decades, and I don't know why these folks would go there and in essence ogle at, and in many cases just short of worship a loser, but they did. And the interesting thing is, he didn't talk much about the candidate running against Anthony Gonzalez, who's a fantastic person. Anthony is. The guy running against him at one point, I know Trump made it sound like he went and negotiated world peace in North Korea. The guy worked advance, which is a really entry-level position, not to put it down, but you're not negotiating with world leaders. And then he went off into old, recycled talking points. So, look, but the problem is, again, people believe this. They really do. And there's enough people, frighteningly, that believe he's going to be president in August.
And there's enough Republicans who are in leadership positions who know that it's not true, and yet they stay silent. And last night I interviewed Democratic Congressman Dan Kildee. Here's what he said about those Republicans who are staying silent about election lies.
It's really difficult to hold them in any level of respect when they are participating in a lie by not denouncing it, by pretending it's true, or at least allowing others to think it's true. They have a responsibility to speak truth, and they're not doing it. And it's very tough to look at them in the same way that I used to.
You have obviously not been one of those Republicans. You have been very outspoken against these lies. But do you share that same sentiment about members of your own party?
Sadly, to some extent, yeah. I mean, they're friends with a lot of people, of course, and a lot or whatever. But there's just so many that either don't say anything and kind of, bury their head a little bit, or they tacitly kind of go along with the big lie because it's really difficult to stand in front of a crowd that doesn't want to hear the truth and tell them the truth. But that's the problem, is when you're elected as a leader, it's exactly that. You have to lead. I mean, yes, we need to know what our constituents think, what they want us to do. How do we advocate for our district? But if nobody is taking the role of leader and leading people a certain way, telling them the truth when the republic is at risk, which it truly is right now, then you can't expect anything but what you saw last night, which is thousands of people that believe the election was stolen because they don't hear people telling them otherwise. You can take me and Liz Cheney, and if it's just us, you can demonize us and say we're the aberration, and really we are right now. But we're telling the truth, and it is high time that other members of Congress, any leader, any county official, any Republican official, say the simple thing that Joe Biden was elected president and work against his re-election, but quit pretending like it was stolen, because that's really, really dangerous.
And quit whitewashing the insurrection, of course. We're seeing the lies go on past the election, but do you blame GOP leader McCarthy for allowing lies and conspiracies to fester within the GOP?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people to blame, but he bears serious responsibility because he gave a great speech after the insurrection. He said Donald Trump is to blame, etc. We know that, he had that position for about a week, and then he went down to Mar-a-Lago because the majority was just around the corner if you can only raise the money. And he took the paddles and he put them to Donald Trump and resurrected him politically. Prior to that, McCarthy was kind of doing the McConnell, who's this Trump guy you talk about thing. People, and I can tell you my colleagues were kind of waiting around and ready to denounce the insurrection. But the second Kevin went to Mar-a-Lago, it all changed, and it silenced so many people.
I'm wondering, so you told MSNBC that you haven't talked to McCarthy in months. Have you seen him in person on Capitol Hill? What's that like? What's it like when you run into other Republican lawmakers who don't like the fact that you're so outspoken?
Well, we don't really all, confront each other too much. I guess kind of behind the scenes, you recognize that you're doing what you're doing, and there's no reason to fight and yell on the floor and stuff. But with Kevin, look, Kevin, I had considered a friend of mine, and but really since January, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to tell me? That there's some tactic behind denying that January 6th was what it was? There's some reason that getting the majority is worth denying the truth? So look, is he still a friend? I guess maybe, but I haven't talked to him in 6 months, so I would assume.
Have you reached out to him directly to convey that sentiment?
No, not in a long time, because again, what's the point, right? I don't think I'm going to go and convince him. I'm happy to talk to him, but the bottom line is I'm going to continue to tell the truth, and I certainly hope he does too. I'm sure it's gnawing away at him and others that aren't, but at some point the truth is, and I learned this in Sunday school, is more important than anything.
Certainly. I want to revisit something your Republican colleague, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, told my newsroom colleague, Jim Acosta. Let's listen.
Would you like to serve on the committee? Would you like to be on the committee?
Sure, she should put me on the committee. That would be great,
And you would show up and ask questions?
Absolutely. Of course I would. I've worked hard all my life, and I would work hard there as well.
What do you think of that proposition there? Do you want to be on the committee? Do you hope to be appointed?
Well, she has plenty of time because she was stripped of her committees, so she really doesn't do anything but travel the country and attack people, but, that come up with crazy conspiracy theories and try to be famous. And she's done a good job of being famous. We all know her, so congratulations. Would I serve? If asked, I'd consider it. I want it to be fair. I want to be able to, pursue all leads. And but, at this point, I haven't been asked. I'm certain that Kevin McCarthy won't put me on it. I'm going to continue to get to the truth as best I can anyway.
Okay, very quickly, I want to ask you before we get to some of the hard work that you were doing on behalf of Afghan military support. This new reporting came out in The Atlantic that Mitch McConnell had asked Bill Barr to be the one to be outspoken about Trump's lies, and Mitch McConnell was apparently worried about the Georgia runoff. What is your message to Mitch McConnell on that?
Well, I don't really have a message for Mitch on that. I know there was concern with the Georgia runoff. Look, by the way, to anybody watching, the whole reason I think Republicans lost Georgia was because of Donald Trump. I wish, of course, Bill Barr would have spoken out sooner. But the bottom line is there's no time like the present to start, right? And I think it's all about looking forward when you have millions and millions of people that haven't heard from anybody telling them the truth. I'll take anybody in our camp that we can.
You're working very hard to expedite visas for thousands of Afghan support personnel who help the U.S. military. This is a really important mission for you. What is the status of that effort?
Well, the last we've heard, the administration is committed to getting them out. That is a Herculean task. There's 18,000 plus another something like 30 or 40,000 family members, and we're supposed to be out of Afghanistan in like a month. So I appreciate that commitment. But the devil's going to be in the details. A lot of these translators that helped us have already been killed by the Taliban, and only more are going to be killed every day. This is essential, not just to following through on our commitments, but also we will fight a war again sometime in the future. And I want the locals to know that we're actually going to follow through on our word. That's important for the future of American soldiers and future conflicts.
That is a mission worth fighting for right there. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you so much again for your time on this Sunday.
You bet. See ya.